tried the new one on and it fitted perfect compared to the one I walked in with, and then the penny dropped going, as fucking shrinking my clothes. As shrinking my fucking clothes. And my mind's just gone into this free fall now of what the fuck is actually happening here, like what the genuine fuck is going on. One of the worst things I probably said was, I have locked people up for doing the same thing. Personally, I think that given her an idea. And that's where the ground started to swallow me a bit, going, I'm in a bit of shit here. What the worst thing she said to me, my counsellor, was, what you've had happen to you is not so different from a minor brain injury, and that's how trauma affects the brain. There was one time where I had a really bad panic attack though at my dad's, where it just felt my whole body was just like inflamed. Like,
how did it go from then you being a victim of DA, of CNC by the sounds of it, and emotional manipulation, to then finding yourself in a pair of handcuffs being arrested for an allegation of DA? Thousands of people listen to this podcast every single month. However, only a fraction of those people actually follow and rate the podcast. Can I ask you a favour? If you want this podcast to keep on growing, if you want these stories, the advocacy for emergency services, and giving a voice to the emergency services to continue, please follow, like, and rate the podcast. It helps more than you know, and it helps the podcast to grow. Liam, thank you very much for being on the Joe's Foot podcast. Tell me why you left the police.
I think it was because, Jack, first of all, thanks for having me on. I think it was a case of there was a lot of stuff that was going on that happened last year, but mainly it was the inner workings of the police, and then hearing all like little terms such as tick box exercises, and it was more about like what is the actual work that we're doing compared to, we want good results, but yet people wanted to like shirk off and not get the good results, and morally that didn't sit right with what I wanted to do.
So it was like a disconnect between what you thought you would be joining the police for and then the actual inner workings of the police as well. So have you got any, can you tell me a bit more about that?
Last year, I dealt with and this is relating to a personal situation of mine as well. So last year, I dealt with an interview with a young girl who was in a very coercive, controlling relationship, quite abusive, where her ex-partner was sending her voice notes, basically saying he's going to fucking cave her head in. And, oh, can we swear on this, or?
Yeah, swear away.
He was basically sending voice notes going, I'm going to smash your fucking teeth down your throat, I'm going to fucking kill you, all kind of nasty stuff you'd expect for those kind of like horrible relationships. And when she turned around and says, well, basically, yeah, he likes fucking with my head, I made sure within the statement we got a phone number, and so that could be put towards an interview. Within the interview, I managed to get the voice recordings presented as well as the phone number. I got the phone number confirmed and also the voice recordings also. The plan of action for this was, it was the direction of, we're going to bail, we're going to bail. Basically, we are going to bail. And I'm thinking, why bail when, if I can get this dead to rights, why are we bailing? So I made at my discretion the decision to go, no, I'm not happy with that. And I believe there is a genuine risk where, because of his mannerisms and the way he was acting, that he, as soon as he left custody, he was going back to her. There was no doubt about it. He was going back to her address. And it was a case of that, as soon as I got a result where he got remanded, I got him to admit the phone number, the voice recordings also, and got him charged and remanded due to appear at court the following day. The words I got off my sergeant goes, why the fuck have you done that? Because we're going to be off late now.
Brilliant.
So I was like, and I was just stood there on the car park of my station going, what? She went, well done, Liam. She went, you've got him to admit his phone number, ain't you? And I could hear like the shift in the tone on the phone call going, you've got him to fucking say his phone number, haven't you? I went, isn't that why we interview people and we get the best evidence and the golden evidence, so to speak? And when you get told, well, thanks a fucking lot, we're going to be off late now, it's quite disheartening to go, why are we even doing this? Like, we want to protect people, and that was my way of protecting someone, but yet I'm being told off for it.
I mean, that's a very good result. So well done for that as well. You
Thank
know,
you.
you'll have certainly put the faith into the victim there, and it's that's quite. There's a thing called like empathy burnout, isn't there? Which people can suffer. Certainly, people who've been in the job for a long time, is that you're sat there dealing with somebody who's incredibly vulnerable in a very, very volatile situation, and you've gone above and beyond, really. You could have gone, well, my sergeant said to bail, so I'm going to bail, and then that be that, and you go, well, I've done my bit, but instead you decided, no, you know what, this like doesn't sit right with me, that this is the action I'm going to take, so I'm going to do more, and then you were almost reprimanded for that because now everyone's going to be off late. Like, listen, unfortunately, in the police, a finish time is not a guarantee. It
Never.
is a proposed
Never.
finish time. Maybe you might finish at 5 o'clock. You know, the amount, fucking hell, the amount of times I've been sat there meant to have finished 3 hours ago on the phone to CPS or waiting for a decision to come through or waiting for somebody else to make a decision. It's like, okay, it's the nature of the job, but ultimately, at the end of it, you went to go home that night going, I did my absolute best. So Liam, just moving away then. So we'll dive a bit more into that, but I wanted to know a bit more about you. So tell me, like what your kind of upbringing was like and why you decided that you wanted to be a bobby in the first place.
So, being completely honest, as a kid, absolutely obsessed, probably still now, absolutely obsessed with superheroes and whatever. And my uncle at the time, he was a traffic officer for West Midlands Police. And I remember one Christmas dinner, like he had just come in, and it was just like I thought it was the coolest thing going because at the time my mum was a dinner lady, and my dad's an air conditioning engineer, and bless him, still to this day is an air conditioning engineer. So he's like how many years on? Way before I was born, and it was like that's what I want to do. I want to do a job where I'm working with people, but I'm also helping people as well.
Mhm.
Over time, when applying, I had loads of setbacks. So it was that like doubt of, am I actually ever going to be good enough for this job? Do I want to do this job and whatnot? And it was until I got a bit of a kick up the arse when I applied for the prison service in 2019. I applied for HMP Featherstone, and they said, "Yeah, great. You had to go to with that. You had to go to Manchester to do all your tests, all your training, whatever." And they say, "Well done, you've all got the job, but you're on a merit list." Now, they don't really explain what this merit list is. Basically, you've got a job, but you've got to wait for a position to open before you can fill that position. Now, that to me was like, but if I've passed that, okay, what, like, going forward, like, surely the police can't be any different because it kind of works part and parcel, like, with the law and whatnot. And I thought, where's a good place to start before being a bobby? Like, where's a good place to start in the place? So I chose to be a PCSO for 3 years in Warsaw. And you know what? I love that. Absolutely love that. But I got the first 2 years were very weird. So it was COVID. So imagine in your training, they're going as a PCSO, connect and build, community engagement. There was literally throwing it at you. And then 2020, March 2020 happened, lockdown. So imagine them going, yeah, go out into your towns, talk to everyone. And the town centre was like a ghost town.
There's
And it
no one
was,
there.
it used to scare you. It was like Raccoon City in Resident Evil. Like someone had just, a random person would pop out and you go, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. You should be inside.
Yeah.
And that to me was like, it's a really weird way of policing because you're telling people they can't be outside. So then
It was a
that
very
eased off.
twisted time, very messed up
It
time.
was. It was, especially in the policing world. I've got mates who told me about the moment lockdown happened where they had it over the air going, these are the rules going forward for a very long time. And it's like, wow, okay.
Mhm.
So you've got that. And then 2021, that was a year of catch up. So me and my colleague, we were doing a lot of inputs in schools, talking to kids about knife crime, violence against women and girls, community engagement, and all your other really good inputs, to be fair. And there is one I really love doing. It was at a local school where I delivered the violence because the problems were being brought to us, like we're having a lot of misogyny. Now, boys are at that age, unfortunately, where they will be easily influenced. Same with like young teenagers in general. So I did a input about violence against women and girls because the Home Office was running the Enough campaign at the time, and I did it to about 200 students in an assembly. So I really enjoyed doing that. So that's where, and then it's like I made use of like street watch teams, all that. So I got really stuck into the community engagement side of it, like going to the local Gurdwaras, mosques when it was like the festivities for Sake and like Ramadan and whatnot. So I was like really like I was like marking it in my calendar when's this, so I can plan something around that. And I mean, my street watch meetings weren't just like let's go all meet up. It was every 2 weeks we'd meet at a local coffee shop, have coffee and cake, brainstorm about the plan going forward, more visibility, more more high visibility foot patrols, and we wanted more. We'd even get the map out and go right, where can we go? Where isn't we're not really touching here? So I loved getting stuck into it, and it was like the only thing that let me down was if you've got someone in the town centre, you got the other bobbies who are like dealing with like domestics and whatnot, and you've got someone who's shoplifting. As a PCSO, you don't have them powers to
Mm.
arrest, stop, search, whatever, and there is a grey area of can you detain, can you do this? And it's like that's why in the end I put my big boy pants on. I was like, you know what, I want to be a bobby now. So I did nearly 2 years of bobby. Majority of that was response, and then a little bit of PPU, which is like our public protection unit that deal with domestics, coercive control, those kind of offences, really, and the vulnerability crime as well.
Right. So you joined, you got that community engagement, you got out dealing with people, you thought, I want to do more. I want to step up. I want to, you get a lot of cops who started as PSSOs. I know quite a few bobbies who started as PSSOs, and they were often very, very good, very, very good cops because they'd had a lot of experience basically eating shit, not being able to do a lot of things when it comes to the power side of it, but they were very good at chatting to people, very good at talking to people. And I always say like that's the biggest weapon as a cop, and really in any kind of emergency service, paramedic, prison service, whatever,
Mm.
is the ability to talk to people. Super quick one. If you're a shift worker and you're struggling with burnout, you're struggling with sleep, you're feeling alienated from your family and feel like you're slowly losing yourself to the job, then I have a free resource available named 14 Ways in 14 Days of Shift Worker Wellbeing Support. You can scan the QR code on the screen now or click the link in the description of this video. It won't cost you a penny, and each day you receive an email from me filled with practical shift applicable support. Make sure you download it. Thank you for everything what you do. Now back to the video.
Do you know the approach? Do you know the approach I've taken? You know, if it was like kicking off inside an address, you know, you ever saw Jurassic World?
Yeah.
Have you saw the bit where he's trying to control the two velociraptors like that?
Oh yeah.
And talking to that was my method, and it was tried and tested with domestics where it'd be like, they're not velociraptors by any chance, but you're literally there going, whoa, hang on. And you're literally
Yeah, yeah.
talking through your fingers going, you stay there and you stay there. We're going to have
Uh-huh.
a conversation and we're going to try and sort it out without any violence.
Were you often single crewed when you went to domestics?
There was times where resources were low. I remember the once where I was working on response, it was like there was six of us. There was six of us throughout the entire shift, and it's like you're literally panicking. The moment your radio goes, you're panicking, going, it's either going to be a single crew job or. But to be fair, I'd be rather than hold up the queue of calls waiting to come in. I'd rather go, look, I'll go there, I'll gauge it, I'll see what's going on. And even though policy was like it's not safe for an officer to go to a domestic on their own, I understand that. But at the same time, like the longer I wait, the longer that person's in danger, the risk increases, the vulnerability increases, therefore the offender's got more access. And that's the way I used to have that step by step program in my head. So I'll be like, no, even if it means going on my own, I'll go on my own, I'll gauge it, I'll see what's going on. And even if I can remove the offender by words, words of wisdom or whatever, like just to get them out the address. Because last thing, like I said, last thing you want to do is some victim to turn around and go, didn't turn up. And I found myself apologising sometimes though when I was going to jobs for other officers' mistakes who I've never even met. Well, the police come here last week and they brought him back, and I'm like, and I've apologised for another officer's actions I haven't even met. Going, I am on behalf of that, I am truly sorry, but I'm here basically to offer a good service to help you, make sure everything's okay, and that's that. But then you literally see even when you get back in your car, going, why have I just had to apologise for someone? I don't even know the collar number. Like, why have I done that? But that was me, like, trying to get on a really good terms with them and go, look, I'm not. I'm not going to shirk you off, even if it's night shift, and I'm finishing at 7. I will stay until that statement's done, and I did. It was no skin off my nose to get a good statement done because I thought that's a nice little handover package for the next shift.
Yeah, it's having pride in your work, and it's not only that. Like that might be the the fifth, sixth, seventh, 10th call you've been to that day, but to that person, that's the first time maybe they've ever had an interaction with the cops. And nobody rings the police around when they're having a good day. So if you are of the mindset, and again, it goes back to the empathy burnout. If you go, it's just another job, it's another domestic. Like, no, this is possibly the worst thing what's ever happened to somebody in their entire lives, and they're calling the police for help and support. If the police turn up and they blatantly get that idea of they don't give a fuck, well, you never get a second chance at the first impression, do you? So the fact that you was able to go, yes, I am busy, yes, I am off late, yes, I am tired, but I'm here to support you and look after you, it shows quite a lot of very good character. And I always found just being straight with people was the best way. Even if you're telling somebody something that they don't want to hear, if that's you're locking somebody up or you're not going to take action on something, like don't promise people something which you can't follow through with, because then they then lose trust, and the next time a colleague goes for whatever reason, they're less likely to believe them. Whereas if you tell someone something straight, they might not like it, at least they know that, well, he said he wasn't going to do it and he didn't do it. So they can't accuse you of being dishonest or lying then at all. people online want to slate the cops and say, well, cops only lock up for this and that. It's like, yeah, but the media and the news likes to frame that the police do nothing and they're just very punitive. You don't hear about that job you dealt with. You don't hear about the countless other jobs which are happening right now while people listen to this or while we're recording this, of Bobby's out there, ordinary people doing absolutely incredible things and supporting ordinary people. You never hear about that because that doesn't sell the papers. But Liam, so you said that you were passionate when it comes to domestics. You did really, really well with domestics, and you touched on it a little bit then. So dealing with all that stuff at work, tell me how that was whilst in a DA relationship yourself.
So that started off as really happy. Someone I knew from a year below me in school, got back in touch like years and years later, and I hung on to the fact of nostalgia of, oh, a year below me in school, we know each other very well. What I didn't realise at the time was that there was a 14-year gap that we hadn't spoken. So there was that. That started off really lovely. Something as little, Jay, as oh, my gin water bottle's broke. Next thing you know, I've got one rocking up at my house. Before we even got together for my birthday, cake's rocking up at my house. For first Christmas together, 3 months in, we go to London. So there was loads of little. I went on holiday with my family in October 2023, and I had loads of messages going, "Oh, it's just crap that you're not here," and basically, and I thought that's really weird. Very early on, that's quite like. But this was just a tradition that I did with my family, where we go to the coast or whatever. So to turn around and go, "Oh, that you're not here," trying to like go like as if make me feel guilty for spending time with my family. So there was that. It got to a point where it got very jealous. So another incident I could talk about is basically where another incident I can talk about is basically where I went to a scene where a 4-year-old had choked to death, unfortunately, and the mom was arrested because of there was not it was she was basically not scot free because the fact of from what it was believed, mom watched it happen. Now that going to that was terrible. The state of the house was awful. There was animals that had passed away inside the address as well, which was awful. It was horrible. Honestly, it was horrible. That was a scene that I had to deal with, and that was throughout a night shift. Now, in night shifts, your mind kind of plays tricks on you, where it's like you're tired, you're exhausted, but at the same time, you still want to do a good job. So that's what you fight. You're fighting against the grain, really. And my colleague, bless her, bought me coffees throughout the shift. I couldn't move off that driveway. The house was secure, but I could not move off that driveway. So my colleague brought me 2 coffees throughout the shift, and I was really grateful for that. Have a bit of a chin wag, how you keeping, how you whatnot. Right, my radio's going. I've got to shoot off, but I'll see you in a bit. Let me know if you want another one. And then my ex partner basically messaged me saying like, "Oh, have you got enough there? Is everything okay? Have you got enough there? Is everything okay and whatnot?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've got everything. I've just had some coffees brought to me. Wasn't an issue at the time. We're then going out. I think it was 2 days out. We're going for a walk, a bit of a hike together. And she went, Who bought your coffees the other night?" And I'm like, I mentioned the name. She's like, and it just caused a massive uproar in the car, going, "Well, what is she doing that for?" I says, "I don't think you realise how the police works. Like, if you're stuck on a scene, you cannot move off that scene." And it was just the whole thing, basically going down the route of, "Are you doing anything at work that I need to be aware of or whatever?" And I'm like, "No, like, no, not at all. Not at all.
Someone's
Like,
just bought me a brew.
someone's just bought me a brew and it is as simple as that." But I said I'll do the same thing for them. "Oh, you do the same thing for them, would you?" And it's like that whole, and then I'm quite empathetic with stuff like that because I'm like, have I done something wrong here that I shouldn't have? But then I'm looking at all the facts going, all I've had is a female colleague bring me a coffee. It could have been a male colleague. Would that have been the same? Do you know what I mean? So, and that's what, going back to the relationship, it started off very lovely, very nice, and then over time it got very like jealous, where it was the point of like my routine got set in stone with my kids and whatnot, and unfortunately it fell on her birthday. Massive argument over it, basically. And then next thing you know, one of the things I had, my kids had a cold the once. Basically, my kids had a cold. She didn't want me living there. I lived there for probably about a month or two while before this happened. And she basically said, "I don't want them infected, dirty kids around my son." And this is about my children. So I'm like, okay, I want you to pack your things and go to your mum's. I want you to pack your things and go to your mum's because they're not coming here. Or you can come here, but they fuck off back to the mum's. I'm like, they've got a cold. Kids, if you're a parent, you know, kids pick up germs and that like, like, like nothing. Like they pick it up, and then so it was that. And then I went to my mum's, and then it was the denial phase of, I never said that. But I've gone through the messages and gone, you have, you've said that, find somewhere else to stay. So I've gone to my mum's. You've gone far. It's that I never said that. It's like, but I've got it in messages where you basically said to me, go stay somewhere else. I've stayed at my mum's. While I was there, I had a phone call basically saying, I've spoken to a high up contact. I went, who's this? She went, I've called the NSPCC on the kids because I'm concerned about their welfare. I'm like, you've done what? I've gone back to. I used to do this thing where she used to swirl a glass of wine when she had to make a point. So I'm talking to her and she's swirling a glass of wine like that. And I was completely fixated on the whole, like, I've spoken to a high up contact, you know, the kids got social services. There are severe concerns regarding your children. I've spoken to the school. The schools have said they've got severe concerns. Me and the kid's mom have then had to go to the school, had a chat where they've turned around and went, we haven't had that conversation. So imagine that you're being told that the school have shared severe concerns, but then you and your children's mom go to the school where they turn around and basically say, no, we haven't given any information away. She has called up, but we've refused, obviously GDPR, data protection and whatnot. We haven't given anything, and obviously safeguarding for the children as well. So I was seething at this point going, why say that? They've told you when they haven't. August, I think it was August, October happened where basically went from the phone again, found out I was asking how, all it was just asking how did the shift go? You all right? Once again, it was a problem. I was on a schoolroom with my kids, and I basically, she went, you need to come back here, else all your stuff's going to be out in the front. And I'm like, no, don't do that. I was removing myself from the situation. I was gonna go to Birmingham with my youngest and do a bit of shopping, just to take my mind off things. And she went, well, you need to get it here, else all your stuff's going to be out in the front. I said, please don't do that. She was like, no, I will. So in the end, I've caved and gone, okay, whatever. I'll come back, I'll have a chat with her. I've gone in there. There was a bag for life of all my clothes. We've had a chat about supposed, working females and whatever. And I used to do these 3 questions. Is there anything I need to know? Is there anyone I need to know about? Would you tell me if there was? And then usually used to be followed by, can I keep you? So I love you. Can I keep you? And that used to really, I used to feel this pit in my stomach every time that was said. The bag, with a bag for life of clothes, she said, oh, well, the joke's on you because as a punishment, you can put them back in the wardrobe. So that was tied into the same time the month before, I bought a load of new gym tops and whatnot. And this still bothers me today, which I'll touch on shortly. So bought a load of new gym tops, and then all of a sudden they don't fit me anymore because I couldn't use the washer because apparently I was doing it wrong. Now, I'm sorry, but anyone with half a brain cell knows that it's very easy to use a washing machine. It's just a case of put your powder in, put your softener in, press play, done. I don't know how technical they are these days because I've got a washer dryer that's been probably ages, but it was just a case of I couldn't do it properly because apparently I was doing it wrong. Same with the hoovering, couldn't do it, doing it wrong. And it used to cause an argument. So to avoid the argument, I just used to let her do it. In July, the month before, I bought a load of new gym tops, and when I've put them back on, I realised they're too small for me, way too small for me. So I think I've only just bought this. What's going on? And then because I was really got back into the gym at that point. I think have a gain weight, lost weight. What's it all for if I'm not like feeling better in my clothes? And I went. By me, you've got an outlet and Canic outlet where you've got all like your Nike, your Under Armour and stuff like that. And I caught her out the once. I walked in with the same top I bought 2 weeks before. And I explained, this is where it's embarrassing. You have to explain to the staff that I think my ex-partner is shrinking my clothes, basically. So you've had to have a chat on the side with a member of staff in a shop and go, I think my ex-partner is like shrinking my clothes. I've gone in, I've spotted the exact same top in the exact same size that I bought 2 weeks before, and I've said to him, can I try a new one on? He's like, yeah, you can try a new one on. I tried the new one on and it fitted perfect compared to the one I walked in with, and then the penny dropped going, as fucking shrinking my clothes. As shrinking my fucking clothes. And what I did was I had the new top on and I put the old one that I walked in with over the top, and there was probably about that much gap from the bottom. And then I'll realise going, it's fucking shrinking my clothes.
Why?
I asked her about this, and the answer I got was because I like fucking with your head and I find it funny.
Are you a shift worker who feels like they're losing themselves to the job? You feel exhausted on rest days, living off caffeine, you're gaining weight, you're terrified of the fitness test, and you're struggling to sleep? This is exactly why I have launched Shift Proof. It's a holistic support and well-being platform which sits right in your pocket for when you need it. Inside Shift Proof, you'll find hours of course material that covers sleep, mental health, diet, exercise, and work-life balance. There are even modules in there relating to business that if you do feel trapped in a career that's no longer serving you, you can build the tools on how to start a side business to eventually leave. There are structured gym and home workouts designed specifically for shift workers who are low on time, want to cut fat, want to build strength, and want to build muscle. There's also the kitchen space where you'll find simple, healthy meal prep ideas with calories and macros calculated. And every month we host a new challenge to help keep you motivated and to help keep you pushing forward. I believe you will love this platform so much that I've added not only a free trial, but also a money back guarantee. So if you don't absolutely love it and you cancel within the first 30 days, then you get a full refund. So if you want the job to stop taking everything from you and you want to start feeling like yourself again, then scan the QR code on screen or click the link in this video description and join Shift Proof today. So she admitted that. She admitted what she was doing.
Yeah, yeah. I asked her before, are you shrinking my clothes? No, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I think too much of you. I wouldn't do that. Her eyes, I can remember her body language clear as day. Her eyes used to narrow, her nose used to flare up, her lips used to like space apart. And it's this look, it was like kind of like a hypnotizing look as if to say, I'd never do that.
Isn't it funny, Liam, when you're in a situation like that and you actually notice the tiny little changes what someone has in their face? So the reason why I say that is I've spoke about my experience quite a lot, and with my last partner, it would be I'd be talking to them, and it would just be a very slight little narrowing of the eyes, little check. Maybe if only if you blinked, you'd missed it. But as soon as you saw that, you was like, I'm in for it there. I've said something, I've done something, and then it might not happen straight away, but you knew at some point something was going to happen. You're going to have a big argument over something. Um, and it turns you hyper vigilant, especially when someone's twisting your head, like shrinking your clothes and stuff like that, and then purposely admits it.
With the shrinking of the clothes, yeah, she did admit it. March last year, like just before going to bed. And then when I've basically got upset about it and gone, why would you do that to someone? Like, why? That's not healthy. And that's confirmed everything I've suspected for months. The answer I got was, why are you making a fuss over it, you little bitch?
So completely dismissing exactly what she's done.
Yeah. And then I'm going to fuck off. And then I'm going to fuck off to bed. So I'm left with that before I've even gone to sleep.
You ever get violent?
There was one point where she used to pin me down by my wrists and say, like, how does it feel you with a woman who's stronger than you, you little bitch? I kept referring back to, and it used to do my fucking head in. I kept referring back to, I used to do MMA. I was like, great. I used to do MMA. I was like, fantastic. And I did a move on me the once where I got me locked in the chokehold, and I felt something cracking my neck. And I was like, get off. I just said, get off. That's really hurt me. And I said, you're showing off. Rather than address it, she just marched downstairs and says, I wasn't showing off. I was like, that really hurt. I was like, that really hurt. And it was like a proper headlock, like an MMA headlock. And she went, I said, you're showing off. I said, you're showing off. And but then I'm like, am I the one who's in the wrong for addressing that?
She's hurt you. You say that hurt. It's your fault for raising it.
My fault exactly. What triggered me a bit 2, 3 months ago was I watched the series on Netflix, My Wife, My Abuser.
I've seen that. It's horrendous. It's horrendous.
She said to her husband, if I knew what I knew about you now, I would never have fucking married you. And I've had to walk away 5 minutes and go, fucking hell. Like I've
Yeah.
walked away 5 minutes and put the kettle on and gone, that was exactly the same shit I've heard. But in a different different wording.
Yeah, so Liam, the thing with a volatile, awful relationship is it's like being slowly poisoned every single day. And when you remove that poison, then you can slowly start to heal. And it doesn't happen overnight. And equally, when you're in a relationship like that, it can be difficult to actually understand that you are in an abusive relationship, in particular as a male as well, because the emphasis is always on violence against women and girls, where we completely neglect that 40% of all domestic violence victims are men. I would argue to say it's possibly round about 50-50, because men either don't recognize it, they're not believed, or they don't want to come forward and admit what's happened to them. But Liam, how did it go from then you being a victim of DA, of CNC by the sounds of it, and emotional manipulation, to then finding yourself in a pair of handcuffs being arrested for an allegation of DA?
So it was the end of March, and this ties into the interview where the last week of March last year was absolutely awful. Like it literally destroyed my soul in many ways. So the middle of the week, that's when I've had the conversation going, "Were you shrinking my clothes?" Yeah, because I like fucking with your head, and I find it funny. And then to then roll over in bed and go, "Stop being a little bitch about it," basically. Okay. 2 days after that, I had loads of messages going, "How do we fix this? Can we fix this?" She come round to my dad's, and one of the worst things I probably said was, "I have locked people up for doing the same thing." I think that gave her an idea. Personally, I think that given her an idea. On the way to work, I called her out and says, "What you've done is emotional abuse. It's domestic abuse. It's manipulation." Even to the point where I started asking ChatGPT about it, and where she's like, "Don't use AI tools against me, and don't say horrible comments about me." And in
Just
the
on that, Liam, ChatGPT wasn't really a thing when I was going through it. But one of the biggest red flags I will put out to people, if you think you're in the biggest red flag to me is, if you think you're in a bad relationship, that's the biggest red flag, because you're thinking it. And certainly if you start looking for things, or you start Googling or looking, so you become almost like an investigator while you're still in it. If you're at the point where you are questioning what this person is doing and why they're doing it, and is this normal, is this abusive, that don't matter what the answer is, that's your biggest fucking answer right there.
So that day, I had a prisoner PIC. I had a PIC at one of the stations, and that's when I did the interview with a girl. And I remember it. I'm typing away on my laptop, doing a statement, and it's basically gone, "Yeah, he likes fucking with my head," and I've just stopped typing. That moment, I've just stopped typing and got looked at her, and I made a comment by saying, "Domestic abuse can happen to anyone, but you are very brave for speaking up about it." And I think there was a lot of me being a professional about it, but also that come from I know myself, that come from a very personal place of me saying it just come out like it can happen to anyone, but you are really brave for talking about it. So this girl has just looked me dead in the eye and says, "Yeah, he likes fucking with me head." So that crushed me, going, if I've got a member of the public telling me that their ex-partner is fucking with their head and enjoys doing it, then what the fuck am I even in? And that's where the ground started to swallow me a bit, going, I'm in a bit of shit here. It's like you've realised, and this is where the coercive control comes into it. I think she realised the control, the narrative was slipping away for her. My sergeant basically called me on the way to work, going, um, "Everything all right? Just doing a safe and well, and you're checking everything's all right." I'm thinking, bit bizarre that. Bear in mind, we had a conversation on the Friday that I was struggling. I was struggling with, the relationship, what was going on, all that. She even gave me a relationship advice at that point. I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't really want to hear it, but okay." Then Tuesday, I got into work, got changed into my kit. I was literally kitted up just without my stab vest. That was it. And then I've noticed my sergeant, the same sergeant, coming towards me. And she went, "Can you just come in this room a sec?" And
Oh
it was the
God.
briefing. Yeah, it was the briefing room. So I'm there. I've literally, because I used to listen to my AirPods while I was doing like, I find that I can work better with music. So I have my AirPods, my Apple Watch, and my phone on me basically to just crack on do my work. So I've come out. I've literally has literally zeroed in towards me and gone, "Can you just come in this room a sec?" I've gone in there and see, I can feel the pit in my stomach just even talking about it. It's, but that keep that in because I'm literally, yeah, it's, and I remember going into the room and the inspector, who I've had hardly any engagement with, he's just sat there with his like hand in his head basically, and there's two bobbies there. And I've gone into the room and the inspectors, and I've basically said, "I thought something had happened with my kids or my family." So there was that horrible. there was already a horrible thought of as something happens to one of my family members, because it's not often you get police officers greet you at work to basically, yeah, in full kit. So the sergeant who I had the lovely chat with on the Friday sat down with her head in her hands, and the inspector says, "Look, Liam, I'm going to cut to the chase. These two officers have got a job to do, and they're going to do it." And it was a new Bobby who turned around and went, "Have you got anything on you that could hurt us?" So I'm really confused at this point, going, "What?" And I've said to the sergeant, "What the fuck is going on?" Started having a panic attack in the room, going, "What is going on?" And the cheeky bastards were there going, "Breathe, just breathe, just breathe." I'm like, "What is going on?" I was like, "What on earth is going on?" And they went, "Right, empty your pockets for us. Like, what's going on?" So I took my watch off, I took my phone out and put my AirPods on the table, and a pen literally on the table. She went, "The time's 9:40. We're arresting you on suspicion of controlling coercive behaviour with an ex-partner." I'm like, "Okay." And the gaffer's like, "Look, Liam, they've got a job to do. They just got to do it, mate." I went, "Okay." And I walked down the stairs, got to the car, and the Bobby says, "We're going to have to handcuff you in case you kick off." Because we understand that people who are emotional are quite volatile. So their body camera is probably me sobbing my heart out in the back of the car to one of the custody blocks. So I'm trying to ask questions on the way there, going, "What's going on?" And they went, "Look, we'll explain that when we get there. We'll explain that when we get there." And there was a lot of, my mind was racing, going, the kids, everything. Are the kids okay? What's going on? But it's how vague it was. I'm like, I've been in relationships since I was 16, 17. So saying next partner, but not giving anything more than that was quite like, it was awful. It's so, I'm like, and I'm spinning going, but, and then I'm counting down, going, me and the kids' mum are getting on really well at the minute. We're talking really well about the kids. I was like thinking, what on earth's going on? And then waiting in the dock for a while, so that was worse. And I'm just there, like, in the meantime, I gave them passcodes to my phone, my watch, everything, because Apple Watch and the passcodes on whatever, in there. And we're getting to the block, and that's when the kicker happened, where they take me to the block, and they says, "Oh, you're going to strip off." Because I was still in uniform. It says, "We'll get you out of uniform." I've got shoved into a cell, because, and the new Bobby kept saying he might have something on him, might have something on him. I'm like, "Love, I am infinite. I've got more experience." And that pissed me off, because I'm like, "I've got more experience than you, and you're acting like I'm a threat." I'm not a threat. I'm quite emotional. And I think if you was in this situation, especially so early on in your career, I think you'd be quite worried as well and quite shocked. So there was that. In the cell, stripped down to my bare boxers, just so they could have my uniform off me. Epaulets, given them as well. Warrant card, that all went in a bag. And then went back to the desk in the horrible grey bottoms and top and bottoms, which was a horrible feeling, because I'm like, I don't belong in this. Meanwhile, I'm going to the desk and I can hear people screaming behind me saying I'm going to fucking kick off and whatever. And I'm like, "What? I don't belong here." And I'm having that whole thing in my head going, "I don't belong here." At the desk, they basically read me verbatim the points to prove for coercive control, comments that made her feel worthless, isolated from friends and family, been basically said nasty words, and you've been sexually controlling. So there's that as well. So they literally put, it was verbatim, the points to, if you look up the legislation on gov.uk for coercive control, it was all there.
Really sorry to interrupt. If you enjoy this kind of content and you want to support me and you want to see these videos before they go out anywhere else in the world, then why not become a Patreon? It costs you the price of a coffee a month. Simply scan this QR code here or click the link in the description. Support means the world. Thank you. You go absolutely crazy in those cells. You go insane. You are. How long were you in for the cells for?
11 near 12 hours.
Yeah, about the same as me, like 12 hours. And you just your mind, you're just playing over every little possibility of thing, and it's fucking horrific.
As emotional as it is, I kept thinking of my kids, holidays we went on. There was a beach that we went to in Port Maddock where we used to playing. It was me, my sister, her fella, my dad, and the kids, and we was playing cricket on the beach. And I kept going back to that thought. The mental health nurse come and see me, and explained everything like to her, and she went, "How is it you're the one that's in here, and you've just explained that to me?" She went, "How is it you're the one that's here?" And it was quite an emotional conversation. I'll never forget it, where she's basically like, "You do it for your kids. If you're not doing it for you, do it for your kids. You've got to keep pushing through it." And 10 hours later, I got interviewed. So it was getting worse and worse and worse.
Hmm.
This was, and I'm like, what the? And my mind's just gone into this free fall now of what the fuck is actually happening here, like what the genuine fuck is going on. And I'll give an initial account at the start about everything, the relationship, what we've spoken about, and all the behaviours and whatnot. I've even had to go into the really intimate, private details of my life, basically to say, no, this is, yeah. And that was, it was uncomfortable because I'm having to talk about this. The impression I got from the interview at the end was they was trying to scrape the barrel, because then they was asking, right, we need the names of all the females Liam's been speaking to while he's been single. And my solicitors jumped in and gone, hang on.
Why? Why? How was that
My,
relevant at all?
exactly what my solicitor says. He says, why is that relevant? He says, we need to see if he's belittled her or said anything nasty about her. So I was like, okay. And I've walked out the interview, and during the time that I was getting all my fingerprints done and whatever, I had a phone call from there was loads of acting staff on this. Now, to me, this seems like there's loads of acting. You had an acting sergeant, an acting DI, and an acting, yeah. And the acting DI called me up going, hi, how are you? I says, I ain't gonna lie. I said, fucking shit. What about you? I says, what is this? I says, what is this? He went, you know how it is, Liam, it's a tick box exercise.
Yeah. Because that's what you want to hear when you're in the cell.
When it was concluding my time there, I overheard a conversation. It was like they wanted to remand me.
Right.
And the sergeant who did my interview was like, why are we even discussing remand when he's given all he's complied fully? He's given an initial account. He's given an initial account. He's basically gave us all the passcodes, all the passwords to his phones, devices, whatever, so we can get into him. He's given us that completely. It was all the same passcode. So I said to him, that is for this, and just gone from there. And then, but that the whole we want to remand him, we want to remand him. I'm thinking it was like a witch hunt. That day felt like a witch hunt. Going like, can you just fuck off? Like I've given, and then it was bail with conditions. So it was basically don't speak to her, don't go to her address. And I said to the
Hmm.
sergeant at the desk, basically, you've got no worry about that. Says I want nothing
I
to do with her.
just on the remand side, I remember when I was getting released and the Bobby who'd been dealing with me walked into the cell and he went, I've got some bad news, you're getting remanded. And I went, what? And he went, oh, I'm only joking. I'm going to bail you now. And I nearly jumped up and punched the fucker in the head. I was like, why are you joking about that? That's not okay. Like, imagine flipping it round and you're sat here and I said that to you. You sat here knowing you've done nothing wrong. You're the victim of this. You spent 12 hours in the cell. This is a malicious allegation. And then you decide to try and have a laugh. No. Time and place, mate. Don't fucking joke about shit like that.
And
Liam, did it give
uh,
you any more empathy towards when people get locked up? Give you
yeah,
any more empathy about how? Yeah, that's one thing I found
a
as
little.
well.
A little, because I think I've seen it time and time again where men have been accused of rape and really bad offences, and
Yeah,
when you look at them and they're shaking like a shitting dog in the cell,
and you're like,
and
this
there's some,
person's not done this.
and you don't want to think that because you want to remain impartial, but you're still
Hmm.
like this, you're like, and you're thinking this is wrong, and you're like this is wrong, like, and I saw it time and time again throughout my career of the child's dad hasn't picked up the daughter on time, so what have they gone and done? Oh, I remember a couple I dealt with the once, so she's got a new fella. The dad's come to pick up the daughter. The daughter sent the dad voice recordings of the stepdad literally screaming at her up the stairs, going, I'm glad you're not my fucking daughter and all that. And I'm like, no wonder she wants to go to her dad's. I'm like, no wonder.
Mm. It really, it opened my eyes a lot. I was never too much into locking people up anyway. Like some bobbers absolutely loved it. They love going out lifting people. It was never. I had high arrests. I had like good arrest stats and stuff because if someone needed lifting, I would lift them. Um, but it was never something I particularly enjoyed. I never got a rush out of it, locking somebody up. But certainly after being on the other side of the cell door, it really opened my eyes to when I'm dealing with a case where I'm going, you've been locked up when you really shouldn't have been. You've been locked up to chase a tick box. You've been locked up to chase a stat. You've been locked up for one reason or another, which was not proportionate. And people just go, "Oh, don't worry, it's just an allegation. It's just not." No, like I've seen people have full mental breakdowns because they've been arrested over something when they are the victim of what's been going on. So it's not just an allegation; it's a serious, horrific thing. What happens to people if somebody, an ordinary member of the public, finds himself involved with the police and fucking locked in a cell for hours and hours? It is horrific. Um, so so you've been released. You're on bail. Um, that then gets NFA'd. It took a long time, but it got NFA'd. Anything happened with your ex-partner?
It was on the way to Bath the next day. I called up and says, I know this sounds really, and this was the worst part. I called up and went, I know this sounds really stupid because I'm a Bobby. I says, I need some advice on something. I says, um, I think I'm in, and that was the words I used, I think I'm in an abusive relationship.
Mhm.
My sergeant clocked it at work when I went back in, going, you look like shit, basically. What's going on? Shut the door. We had a chat. And he says, that's how it starts. So it starts off with a bit of verbal, then they get bored, starts with a bit of pushing and shoving. He says, everything you've explained to me does sound good. He says, the people on the team have noticed it, and I've noticed it. He says, you're pale, you come in, you haven't got a spring in your step, and we know when you've had a bad day. He says, we know. So he got the domestic desk to have a chat with me, did a Dara, but and this was where I'll kick myself a little out of protection for her. I kind of held back a bit and went, you know what? I need to think about a statement. I need to think about a statement.
Was this Liam? Liam, was this before you were arrested, or was this
Yeah,
afterwards?
This was before. Yeah,
Right.
this was the
So
year
you'd
before.
initially you'd been clocked. You'd raised the complaint. You decided to
Yeah,
not go through with it for a myriad of different
it
reasons.
was still ongoing though. This is the thing. It was still
Right.
ongoing. It was just in the background. And my sergeant's instructions on PPU was because she basically said she was pregnant in February, which I found because that's the part I really pulled away and went, I'm done. So February last year, I pulled away and says, I'm done. I'm done. And it's kind of like trying to work it out from there. And it's just like, this ain't working. It's awful. And I thought, you know what? Like regarding the pregnancy, if, yeah, there was that. And then it was the whole,
And was she pregnant?
yeah, she's had the baby and whatnot, as far as I'm aware. But it was the whole, there's loads of, which I won't go into, there's loads of discrepancies.
Okay.
There's loads of little well, one of the things with the coercive control is one of the first places we had a scam, which I'll get into shortly. So my sergeant's instructions to me was, and this was February last year, March, where he says, what we're gonna do with it, Liam. He says, why don't we just fuck it off and file it? And I'm like, but so he went, no. Why don't we just fuck it off? As pregnant at the minute, we can't touch her, can't do anything with her, mate. And he was more worried about her going. He was more worried about her getting the stress of it causing like any medical issues and whatnot, which I do understand to a degree. But at the same time, it's like, so if she took a hatchet to my head and caved my fucking brains in, would that still stand? I don't think it would. No. So for him to go, why don't you just fuck it off and file it? And then I started thinking, going, I hope to God victims don't get spoken to the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was another little notch to say, I don't like this. The first place we had a scam was very early on into discovering the pregnancy. And there's two parts to this. So I'll go into the first part where we went there and it was very like, I've had 3 children before this with my children's mother. And it was a very different setup. And I thought, something ain't right here. I was like, something really isn't right here. Like, we've gone for a scan and whatever, but there's something really cold about the atmosphere here. I don't like it. When I was on bail, probably about the summer last year, I called up and says, what is this? I called them up, the company, and says, what is this facility? Oh, it's an abortion clinic.
Right.
I'm
That's
like,
a bit different.
I'm like, what? I was like, yeah. We deal with abortions. It's an abortion clinic. I went, what? I've come off that phone like, how do you even process that? I come off the
Mm.
phone and then
So you thought you were going for a baby scan. It turns out it's a termination clinic, and you've not been told.
no.
That's fucking
And then
horrendous.
I asked for a paternity test because I started getting a few suspicions here and there. And the answer I got was, if that's how you feel about the pregnancy, don't be fucking involved.
Hmm.
So that to me was another. Mm. So there was that. Social services were called on my children with false allegations.
Hmm.
So then May last year, I had my children's mom calling me up, crying her heart out, basically saying about they've said this and they've said this, and then asking questions about me. Is he violent? Is he ever violent with the kids? Is he ever violent with you? Has he ever been violent with you? And I said to her, I was like, I wonder where that's come from. I was like, I wonder who's called that. I wonder where that's come from. So there was loads of little things happening. I could not have any contact, nothing. And then for these little things to happen in the background, I felt a bit powerless because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and then when it all come to a head where it was all resolved, I basically got told, yeah, she's not happy about it. I went, well, I wouldn't be either if I put false allegations in and it was proven like NFA. I'd be a bit pissed off as well.
So after everything, and even when you suspect she was still playing games while you were on bail, even after all that, there was no recompense for her, no repercussions for her.
The investigation was at a standstill because I put another complaint in,
Right.
but people were telling me not to. Police staff were telling me not to because what's the point? I was like, no, I've got to do something about this. And my welfare sergeant even said at the time, you've got to do something. So I did that. And that was put at a standstill in August due to my phone download. So that investigation where I put the complaint in was at a standstill from August, and it's only just gained traction just now
Right.
because of the OIC taking his time with going through a phone download.
So there's potentially something might happen with her in the future.
Absolutely.
Right, well, fingers crossed for that, pal. Okay, so Liam, we've been chatting for a little bit now. Just quickly tell me about what support you had from the organisation or the federation while you was off, and the impact being accused of something like this has affected your mental health, has affected how you view the police, and also just yourself of some people say, well, there's no smoke without fire, and there's this and that, and all women don't accuse men falsely and that sort of shite.
Mm.
Tell me about all that.
So after the arrest and like when I got released from custody, I stayed with their instructions were because my dad was living in Thailand and I moved back in with my dad's after because I had enough of being there. Their instructions were, we're not happy you going back on your own
Mhm.
because there was basically fearing I was going to commit suicide. That's what their fears were, that I was going to commit suicide. And I'm like, so my sister and her partner, I can't thank them enough but they had to watch a week of panic attacks, night terrors, bloody everything. They had to watch all that, which was not the best for him because I remember the first one, me and my sister went to a coffee shop. And now, when me and her went to a coffee shop before, I did this little mantra of, no, it's my treat. I'll get it, yeah. Look at us. Look at us.
Mm.
Can I keep you? Look how well I treat you. And it'd always whisper, I love you. So it'd be that thing of, look at us. Look how well I am to you. Can I keep you? Yeah, I really do care about you. I really do love you. It was like the whole, and part of me thought at the time, I wish I just would have bought my own fucking coffee, which I wish I would have just to save that whole mantra of shit. And then my sister, so this was 2 days after being released. My sister turned around to me and basically said, "Oh, it's Martree. I'll get it. Yeah." Took me out because
Yeah,
I
straight
started having
away.
a panic. I started having a panic attack. So she went, "Do you want a coffee? Do you want a coffee, a cake? I'll treat you. I'll look after you." And my body just went completely like I was struggling to breathe. I had to sit down. Like my face felt really like swollen. And there was this mom and daughter next to me, and I couldn't apologise enough to them because like I'm really, really sorry. And bless them, they got it. They went, "Are you having a bad day?" And, I went, "It's." And Kirsty went, "What's that?" I says, "Just you saying them words there triggered a full on panic attack. Just that."
And that's because your nervous system is in absolute overdrive. You're just in that fight or flight situation constantly. And like you said, it doesn't just switch off. Just because the danger's gone doesn't mean it switches off. Your body learns to protect itself and to constantly be looking out for danger.
So I found what helped me a lot was Andy's Man Club. And I went to that straight away. When coming back to the area, I found my local one at Lichfield and I went there and it was lovely. And anyone who's going through a shower of shit like that, the rules are though, you can't talk about anything ongoing. So even though I wanted to talk about what's happened with me and everything, it was a case of I could mention the ex-partner part, but not the ongoing investigation part, which I
Hmm.
was happy with that because it gave me an output to go, this is what I'm struggling with. And then you get other blokes joining, going, you know what, that's happened with me and it will get better. And it was all part and parcel. But I think it was very powerful to walk in there and there's literally like 30, 40 men just talking about things that really haunt them and really bother them. And it's like, I'd recommend it to anyone. And there is a point, it's just my schedules clash with their timings. I really do want to go back at one point and just go, like, because you can give back when you're there and you can, like,
Hmm.
help other people. And I would like to do that. But it's like I said, my schedules are clashing massively with that. So Andy's Man Club was a massive saving grace. My family, my friends, all that as well. My other half's been absolutely fantastic as well. It was, but with the job, I really had to beg for the counselling service. And what the worst thing she said to me, my counsellor, was, "What you've had happen to you is not so different from a minor brain injury, and that's how trauma affects the brain." To hear that at 30 broke my heart because it was like, for what's happened to you, it's not so different to a small minor brain injury. You can recover, you can heal from it, but you've got to be patient with yourself, and it will take time. And you're like, I'll come off the session, bawling my eyes out, going, how the fuck is it that can happen? Why has that happened? And part of me felt a bit stupid, thinking, have I enabled a lot of that for 18 months? Have I let that happen because I was in the job and, oh, because I'm a bloke and I'm a copper, it can't touch me and it can't affect me. But at the same time, I was dealing with that. And that's where you have to kind of break away from it and go, I've got to do what's right here. I think it was the gym, keeping myself physically active, keeping myself in shape. I think it was opening up to people as well. I mean, even my kids to a degree. Like, obviously, you want to protect kids from the worst stuff, but then opening up to them, going, I feel this way today, and this is why. And like the days where I'd have the panic attacks, like the kids would notice and go, "Oh, dad's struggling, dad's struggling." It haunts me them saying them words, going, "Dad's struggling, dad's struggling," and I'm like, "No." I was like, and I'd sit them down, and go, "I am struggling because of X, Y, Z, and this is the reasons why, and this is what I'm thinking about, but it's nothing to do with you." And I would reassure them the best I could, going, like, basically saying, "Look, it's not you, it's me, it's not you." There was one time where I had a really bad panic attack though at my dad's, where it just felt my whole body was just like inflamed. Like my whole body just went like, I remember I was talking and it's like I couldn't hear anything. It was like white noise coming from my ears. And then next thing you know, my body just feels like it's on fire to the point where I've had to go in the bathroom and lie on the tiles because my body just felt completely overwhelmed. And I'm like, what on earth was that? Quite a bizarre feeling. And I think it was just having breaks here and there and not, I think it was being kind to myself as well. But at the same time, my hands were tied because I wanted answers, and a lot of the answers were regarding why on earth would you do that to someone? And it's like a lot of people said to me, you can't, if you try and get in the mind of other people and how they work, you will be fighting a losing battle, basically.
We can spend so long searching for answers. We can spend so long searching for the reasons, because what we do is we assume that, well, I would never treat this person that way, so why would they treat? And we put ourselves in other people's shoes. We think other people think the same way we do, but we know that's not the case, because there's plenty of things what people do that we just would never. And that is exactly the same when it comes to this situation. The big thing what you're saying to take away from this, Liam, is what I think is, we can't rely on organizations and the job to take care of us. They can help. If we're lucky, they can help a lot, but ultimately we need to take care of ourselves with things such as with recovery, with allowing yourself time as well, expecting things to be over straight away and to go back to how you were. It takes time. Like I said before, it's that slow poisoning. It takes a long time for that poison to get out of your system. Having a good support network, looking after yourself mentally and physically as well, all massive, massive important things. And I think to go through what you went through and then to come out the other side of it and find yourself in quite a happy environment now, and to be still physically in good shape, you back working, you got a good relationship with your kids, it's an absolute testament. And not only that, the fact that you've been able to come on here today and be so open about someone who has been accused of something so insidious and awful, such as DA, I think it really stands a lot of testament to your character, mate. So very, very well done. Um, Anything you want to finish with? Any message you want to put out there, Liam, before we
I
finish?
think I think it's just a case of like a lot of people don't talk about the transition, and I can't thank my other half enough for this. It's the transition from going from that environment, that horrible environment where literally you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you're literally questioning what you can say, what you can't say, who you can speak to, who your friends even are, and what you wear. There's still some side effects though, where sometimes clothes feel weird on me because I think they've been shrunk, even though I know I'm in the charge
Yeah,
of
yeah,
my own washing and whatever. So there is
yeah.
that whole psychological element to it, but people don't really, there's not a lot of discussion around coming out of a horrible relationship into a really beautiful, powerful, like healthy one, where, and then the best thing my other half has said to me was, whatever we do, we'll do it together. And I love that because I've been completely open about like, this is what's happened, this is what's going through, but it gives you a lot of emotional awareness and intelligence for going through stuff like this. So in a way, it's
Mm.
kind of like it will. And something my other half says is, I don't know what okay is right now, but it will be okay.
Yeah, I
And I don't
like
know
that.
what that look. I don't know what that looks like right now, but it will be okay. And I always held on to that throughout the entire thing, as well as what my family were telling me. Going, look, the things you can change, change them. The things you can't change, why worry?
Amazing. Liam, absolute pleasure. Cheers for joining us.
Always, absolutely.